Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I admit I am a procrastinator. This is why you want to be able to learn my PSA formula to beating and managing your procrastination, because there is probably no one as stubborn as me when it comes to doing the behavior of procrastination. What's so wild is that I was never a procrastinator. I don't know if you were someone who's always been like that, like going back to school. Were you someone who waited and stayed up till, the night before until 2 a.m. to write your papers or to study for a test? Were you that person? Did you get your homework turned in at the last minute? Did you do it ahead? I was someone who was always ahead. In college as well. Some of you know this, and those of you who don't, it's definitely an entertaining story. I was sent to boarding school in high school. Are you surprised? And it was a fancy college prep type boarding school. It was a very good thing I was sent because I was for sure going down, as parents like to call it, I was in the wrong crowd, and I for sure was in the public school system. Yeah. So Tiffany might have for sure ended up working a pole, which, I'm all about. I'm all about my strippers working it. No judgment for me, but I would have probably more than working a pole. Honestly, I would have been a escort. I'm not joking. I would have gone beyond the pole because a pole wouldn't have cut it for me. It wouldn't have cut it for me at a certain point. I mean, I was down that path, or potentially like a drug mule. I mean, that's where I was headed. So I think it's good that I was sent to boarding school. Anyway, we in this boarding school, how a lot of them are set up is you get a syllabus, just like you do in college, as that's why it's called college prep, right? It sets you up so when you end up in college, you're not in shock with all the freedom you get. So you don't have the same classes every day. Sometimes your day starts at 10, sometimes your day ends at 2. So it does teach you to have to be more responsible, manage your shit. And I was on top of it. I really was. As much as a partier as I was on top of it. I loved the feeling of getting stuff done on time. I mean, I would still cram study for things, but we all do that. But I would have papers done early. I would turn shit in early. It felt very satisfying to me. So my point is, I was not a procrastinator at all. I actually loved the feeling of having stuff done early. And then I watched everyone else in college or even at, the news station, they would be tripping. And I'm like, I already had gotten that shit done. And it felt really good and empowering. So something really shifted. It shifted truly when I had my health crisis about 5 years ago, where my entire adrenal system shut down to the point where, if you're not producing cortisol, you go into cardiac arrest. I mean, I have a lot of medical professionals who listen to the show. This is straight up fact. It's not me being dramatic, but my childhood, my lifestyle ran on such high cortisol that my system stopped producing cortisol. And it was running on pure adrenaline, and that's just not sustainable. I do have a point of this tangent. But when I crashed, where I couldn't even go to the grocery store. And this is before they didn't have, at least they didn't have it in my area. They didn't have Instacart. I mean, obviously I could get food delivered, but that was 5 years ago. I mean, there wasn't, I don't think There wasn't DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, I don't think. At least not where I was at. I think they had it maybe like downtown LA. So I couldn't go to the grocery store. I was living alone in my luxury townhouse in the Calabasas area. I had one living relative who's my mom, who is in Chicago, and I'm in LA. I did not have the type of people in my life at that time who I could call up and who would care for me and who were reliable. In fact, there's nothing like having a health crisis to find out who really gives a shit about you and who doesn't. And I know a lot of you have gone through stuff like that in your life. It's really fascinating and it's very painful. I mean, there was someone who I thought was a dear friend of mine. Obviously, I'm not going to name her. Because people, I was such a hardcore regular at multiple gyms, being a former exercise addict, which was also what contributed to this problem. That you missed me. I wasn't at the gym. And if it was any more than 2 days, because normally I'd let people know, I travel a lot, right? So they would know I was going somewhere. A lot of people just were always asking, oh, when's your next trip or whatever. So if I was gone more than 2 days and didn't let anyone know, like, people would alert the authorities. I mean, it was that weird. That's how much of a gym rat I am, of like multiple gym memberships, pure craziness. And without giving too much information about her, because she's a somewhat public figure in LA, so I have to be careful what I say, because homegirl over here doesn't want to get sued for defamation of character, even though this is true. I have to be careful how I word it. Which I'm not good at. I'm good at it if I'm on TV, because I go into like broadcaster TIFF mode, and I'm good at it when I'm on stage. But on my podcast, I feel so free to just say whatever the hell I need to say to you, that I'm like talking to a friend. I have to be careful. Anyway, so she did reach out to check on me, because it was weird. I was out and I wasn't great about getting back to people, because that was even hard for me to look at my phone. But I was running my other business. So like I had to check my phone. It was not cute. And I said, no, I'm not okay. I cannot even take a shower. I'm not okay. And I'm not someone at that time. I was still learning how to ask people for help. I was not great at it. I was not great at asking for what I need. I could hire people at that time, right? Because then I'm paying them, so it's not as vulnerable. But asking people to do things that would put them out I felt like I was a burden. I didn't want to bother anyone, that kind of thing. Well, guess what? I didn't have a choice. So God humbled my ass, which was needed. And I had to ask everyone for help. I had to ask my weird neighbor at the time, really nice guy, very weird. Had to ask him he walked my dog for me a few times. I had to ask him to take out my trash, which, by the way, required me walking like 6 steps. I couldn't do that. Anyway, back to this girl. Another toxic person I had to let go of my life. Another taker, another energy vampire. Seemed so sincere. Oh my God, whatever you need, you just let me know. She lived pretty close to me, and she loved cooking, and she was a great cook. And there was a certain kind of soup she made that was just so delicious. And it was the only thing that I felt like I could eat. And I was like, and I said it like this, if you end up making any of your soup this weekend, if you could make extra and leave it at my door, it would really mean the world to me, because I can't go to the store and I keep ordering Chinese and pizza because that's the only delivery, and I'm gaining more and more and more and more weight, and it's insane. Oh my God, I would love to. I'm going to make you a batch tonight, blah, blah. I was emphatic about it. And to the point where I felt really cared for. Guess what, you guys? Soup never freaking came. I'm going to cry. She never freaking delivered the soup. And it was never mentioned again. Even once I got a little better. I wasn't really better. It was when I got put on Adderall. So it masked it. It made it seem better. I was basically on like legal cocaine, which made it seem better temporarily. And of course, being an exercise addict at the time, where was the first place I went? To the gym. And I saw her there, acted like never happened. like it was never offered, like I was never sick. I looked sick. People were like, oh my God, where have you been? Like it never happened. Super cheerful, looking me dead in my eyes as though it never happened. Oh my God, it was so freaking hurtful. I don't know why I went off on this whole thing when we're talking about procrastination. I don't even know why I went off on it. There must be a reason I'm sharing this story, because I think that there's some of you right now that have these energy vampires in your life that are draining your energy and sucking your soul dry. And I guess where I was going with it is some of you are not procrastinating because you think you're lazy, you think you're unmotivated, you think you're uninspired, that you're stuck, something's wrong with you, you're depressed, you're anxious, you have ADHD. And I'm not saying some of those things aren't true, okay? But I truly believe what shifted me into becoming a procrastinator was because I had so many energy vampires like this in my life taking from me and not having the support I deserved and needed when I was sick. And that I had to, everything felt like so much. I couldn't be on top of it. And then I kept getting buried. I kept getting buried in administrative stuff, bills, things I was behind on checking on, stupid shit like registering my car tags, like adulting stuff. And I just kept getting buried and buried and buried, and it all felt like too much. So then my brain started coming up with excuses of why I could do it tomorrow, why I could do it later, because it gave me a sense of temporary relief. It just gave me that sense of just, I will do it tomorrow. And I'd really believe and convince myself, okay, I'm going to really get it together next week. This week's a wash. It was already a mess. I'm not feeling great. I'll get it together next week. I would even, like, let's say the first of the month is coming, right? Because perfect timing with this episode. November and December, I'm going to be really on it. I know some of you are saying that. I'm going to be really on it. No more messing around. Mercury retrograde got me swooped up. The kids went back to school. There's still so much going on in the world, and I'm really going to buckle down November 1st. Like I'm doing it, blah, blah, blah. That's your procrastination brain. What happens is it gives your body, literally hormonally in your body, it gives you like a dopamine release. It gives you a calming effect. So it takes you out of that adrenaline, suffocating, throat chakra being closed to, okay, I can breathe a little bit. It'll be okay. But it doesn't last long, because then the next day comes and that month comes and now it's there again and now it's piled up more. And then you've you've created this cycle of the only way to get the reprieve is to come up with these very believable, intricate stories, even sometimes creating them in order to get that dopamine, in order to self-soothe. So it's a self-soothing situation. So first thing is, I want you to give yourself grace. We have to acknowledge things in order for us to change them. But I want you to give yourself grace around this procrastination and dig a little bit about, when did this start? For some of you, it could have started at 6 years old when, you could have been in a household where you were in a very controlling household and you were given far too many chores for your age. So you would use procrastination as a form of defiance, right? It could have started in school for you. It could have started last year for you, or it could have started during quarantine life. I know a lot of clients who were never procrastinators that they felt a lot of it really started coming up heavily during, the last 2 years. So I want you to give yourself some grace, acknowledge it. This doesn't mean I'm a procrastinator, therefore I can't be successful. Therefore I'm lazy. Therefore I'm not a boss babe or a boss dude. Therefore I can't be a great entrepreneur, coach, accountant, lawyer, doctor. What would people think of me? That's not an attractive trait. We put all these judgments around it and the connotation about being a procrastinator. Let me tell you something. If you couldn't be a multimillionaire and a procrastinator at the same time, I'd be living in a tent. Clearly, you can be a disorganized procrastinator and still be wildly successful. You're just making it a lot harder on yourself. And I'm saying it to myself when I'm saying it to you. That procrastination thing is like you're going for a short-term relief, but it causes long-term pain. That's what that loop does. And I'm saying it again to myself when I'm saying it to you. It's short-term relief, a short-term reprieve, but it's long-term causing you so much more energy and grief and anxiety and pain. So we're making it harder on ourselves than it needs to be. I'm much better about catching myself, but I don't always catch myself because I've been doing this for a while. But that's also why I'm sharing this episode, because I had to come up with a way to beat and manage this so that I didn't lose everything I've built. So it didn't get in the way of me pursuing my goals and impacting and helping you guys the way that I want to show up and help you and what you deserve. Because you guys deserve the best and I want to deliver it. And procrastinating is not, I just pronounced that weird. Procrastinating is not going to get it done, right? Procrastinating is not me showing up at my best and in the highest integrity. And I don't like it when people procrastinate on shit with me, right? On stuff that I'm waiting for, stuff that I need, or people on my team. That doesn't feel good to me. So yes, as the business owner, as the boss, I do have more room to procrastinate because people are on my time, but I'm paying a price for it. So the first thing is I want you to acknowledge it without shame or judgment. The second thing is I want you to dig on it. Out of curiosity though, right? Like not to overanalyze and get spun out, but out of curiosity, I'm curious, when did this start for me? Did it get worse recently? Was I like this my whole life? Just curiosity. That's not going to change the behavior. The PSA formula I'm about to teach you will, but I want you to have curiosity around it and let go of some of that judgment and shame around it, because you're in a shame cycle with it. You procrastinate, you get a temporary relief. It's like an addiction, right? You get a temporary relief. And then when it comes to be Monday or it comes to be the first of the month and then you don't have it together and you still don't do the thing, then it's shame. Then you feel like crap about yourself. Then you call yourself names and you beat yourself up and then you feel like crap. And then then you make these promises, excuses, proclamations all over again. And it comes up. People do it all the time when it comes to not just business, money, but exercise, stuff in relationships, getting chores done around the house, taxes, all the time. Even things like organizing your closet, this can come up with anything, but it's a shame cycle. It's not any different to where you tell yourself, I know I need to eat better and exercise more. I'll start Monday. And then you don't start Monday. And instead of having the kale salad, you eat a bowl of mac and cheese. And then you're like, I'm a piece of shit. What's wrong with me? I said I was going to do it Monday. Oh my, well, this day is a loss already. I'll get it together tomorrow. I'll cleanse tomorrow to make up for it today. And then you're in shame the rest of the day. When you're in shame, it's the lowest vibration on the spectrum. So when you're in shame, it attracts more shame feelings. It attracts more shame thoughts. It attracts more shame beliefs. It attracts more shame people, places, and things and experiences that occur. You become a magnet for the shame, which keeps you in the cycle. So this is why we've got to actually take some actions to get out of it. So first couple. Now, let's take a look at this whole PSA thing. The PSA formula I came up with is, like I said, I knew procrastination was preventing me from having the life of ease, freedom, and power, in the sense of my own personal power that I so badly wanted and deserved. My power was being given away to this procrastination behavior, and I wasn't going to have it. And none of the stuff that I was reading helped. I do love Mel Robbins and her 5-second rule. Did help me. It's like a tool. It helped me as a tool, but it didn't help me change the behavior and the pacifying fear behavior that's behind it. Because that's really what procrastination is. It's fear in disguise. It didn't help it at the root, but it is a great tool. So Shout out to Mel Robbins and her 5-second rule. If you're not familiar, it's definitely a worth it read for sure. So the P in PSA is prioritize. We try to put too many things on our plate. Our to-do list is wild. Okay. And it makes us think, oh, I'm going to write everything I need down that I need to do. And that's okay if you feel you need to do that. You can write down all the things, but then I want you to just take the top 3 things that have the biggest consequences if you don't do. Whether it is you making sure you set an appointment with an accountant so that your taxes are on time, so that you don't pay penalties, or you're not being a crabby bitch to everyone in your household because you waited till the last minute, right? That gets circled. If it's you're waking up feeling exhausted and like crap every day and you've not been prioritizing your health, that's a high cost factor. So that's what I mean. It's not just monetary cost. It's spiritual cost, physical cost, mental cost, financial cost. So you circle your top 3 things that have the biggest cost and consequence to you continuing to procrastinate. And those are the only 3 things that are on that list for that day or that week. The rest is gravy. If you do those 3, you're winning. If you have energy left and bandwidth left to do one more thing on your secondary list, fantastic. But you've got to let that secondary list go, because there's a story that's built in your head of, I have so many things to do. I don't have time to get to it all. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I need to clone myself. There needs to be 2 of me. My husband's a piece of shit. He doesn't follow through with anything. My wife is lazy. She doesn't do anything. My kids are so entitled and they're not getting it together. And you're nuts. You've lost your damn mind. Okay? We'll be okay. You've just got to trust me on this. So 3 things. The S in PSA is huge. And a lot of you are going to blow this off because it's going to feel very scary, because it actually is the thing that works. And it's accountability. You have to set up an accountability system that has a high cost factor. If it doesn't have a high cost factor to you, like I said, financial, spiritual, mental, physical, if it doesn't have a high cost factor to you, you don't have enough skin in the game, and it's not going to help you show up regardless. So how you guys see, I don't procrastinate on making sure you guys get 2 fresh, high-level podcast episodes every week. All the content you see on my social media channels, my weekly special email list, my secret posse. If you're not on that list, it's not just some like random newsletter that you guys get. It's exclusive content talking about stuff like this. It's content you can't get anywhere else. It's manifestation exercises, millionaire mindset tips, custom affirmations. Plus, you're the first to know about any of my sales, my new programs, any of that in there. And we always include really funny GIFs because we all need a laugh, and they're designed to read in 30 seconds or less. So go to projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. That's something in of itself. If you can commit to, that's like a little accountability, right? There's not a big cost factor there because it's free, but these are little things that you can set up that are going to be little wins for you. So every week an email comes out on Thursday, right? So just go, you know what? I am going to take 30 seconds every Thursday and read this email from Tiffany, because it's going to bump up my mind. It's going to help me bump even a little bit out of the shame shit that my brain is in. And it's going to pump me up. So you can at least, if you can't commit to that, I don't know what to do with you. Because that's not asking much. But that's an example of like a little win you can set yourself up with, but that is not going to be enough accountability for you. And for everyone, it's different. For me, I've got to put big money on the line. So there's a reason why I hired Cara Alwell, the Champagne Diet. She is my high level coach. Homegirl is not cheap, nor should she be. She's fantastic, right? So she's my private coach. It gets me to show up, 1, because I have big money on the line. And it's all relative, but it's big money. 2 is I have a lot of respect for her and respect for myself, and I'm not going to blow off homework assignments. I'm not going to blow off our sessions. right? And even just knowing she's there supporting and watching my stuff, right, gets me to show up because I know there's someone watching. I have accountability set up with my best friend. Normally, I don't recommend having accountability set up with a friend because most people are not emotionally capable or mature enough and have done enough inner work where you have a relationship where you're willing to call the other person out. I'm very blessed, and both Tracy and I have done and continue to do major work on ourselves where we can call each other out with love, and that's very rare. Typically, I always tell people, you've got to pay people. And that wouldn't be enough on its own, right? That wouldn't be enough on its own. I have to pay people. So I also am accountable by, I hired another person on the ProjectME team before I was ready, right? I only hire top talent. So I hired another person. So I have more money going out than ever to run ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. So I better show up and do these exciting things that you guys are going to see coming through November and December. I better show up and do the damn thing because I have to pay these people so these people can pay their bills and pay their family. Otherwise, I'm wasting my money. So a lot of you guys are playing too safe and small with accountability. One way you guys can be accountable, that's why I structured my ProjectME Posse group coaching membership. You can now join that membership at any time. Before, I only opened and closed it certain times of the year. You can go and join right now. It's $100 a month. Your first month is $150, and then it's $100 after that. So it's basically $3.30 a day. You get weekly live trainings from me and other special guest experts. You get a library of over 160 prior trainings. You get an excellent group, and it's not a group that's so big that you can hide. So I keep it at a certain size. So that's not, if it'll tell you when you go on there to join, if it's full, people join, people drop off, right? Procrastinators drop off. Most people stay. I have people that stay from 6 months. I have people who've been in there 2 years. Go join that and just commit to yourself. You know what? I'm going to make a point of showing up for those lives every week. And even if you're at a crazy time zone, because there's obviously people from all over the world in here, you're committing. I can at least watch that training every week. I can at least listen to it while I'm multitasking. I can at least check in with the group every week. Believe me, it's noticed when you're not there and it's noticed when you are there. And you can ask any of the current members in there. So go in and join. The link's in my bio on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. You can also just swipe up here. It's in the show notes. ProjectMeWithTiffany.com/ProjectMe Posse. ProjectMeWithTiffany.com/ProjectMe Posse. We are about to do a special thing for it. So the likelihood of it getting full, because like I said, this is not designed to be a group that's thousands of people. That's why I can call it a group coaching membership. So you want to get in before I do this big public thing. I would highly suggest it, or you will not be able to get in this year. But go check it out. See what the members have to say. See all the details. Some of you need to go bigger than that. Some of you need to hire a private coach. You need to hire maybe a personal assistant. Maybe you need to hire another employee. Maybe you need to stop doing contract workers and you need to hire someone who works for you. Everyone, it looks different. But if it doesn't make you uncomfortable, where it kind of freaks you out to do it, and you have resistance to it, then you don't have enough skin in the game. I'm telling you, this is a game changer. This is how I show up and beat my procrastination. I was terrible with it. And I still am. And my question I ask myself is, what can I do to get me to show up? And sometimes it's like for my money workbook that I've still not released, that was started in 2020, by the way. So I've just recently asked myself that question. So I'm going to hire an editor, period, because that would be a crazy waste of money to not hire an editor to help me also do it. But I'm paying another person on it. I've already spent money on this damn thing, and I feel like that's going to get me to show up. The A in the PSA is action. Listen, you can pin shit You can listen to these episodes. You can save posts. You can write in your journal. You can buy tickets to an event. You could join my ProjectME Posse group coaching membership. And then temporarily, it might give you a high. Like, I just did something, right? Like, I know people who will buy a Peloton and other expensive pieces of exercise equipment. And then that's not enough to get them to actually do the thing. It's fooling you. It temporarily makes you feel like you've taken action and you've really not done shit. You've taken the easy action. You've not taken the real action. So you've got to get into the real action, not just the easy action. The easy action is a form of procrastination too, right? Pinning healthy recipes, saying, I'm going to start making, low sugar fall soups now. And that's what I'm going to do. Or even signing up where I'm going to now have shakes and I'm going to join this gym. Well, you still have to go to the gym. You still have to drink the fucking shakes, right? You have to show up for the posse. I guarantee you, your ass shows up all the time. You will see a strong increase in your audience and social media, and you can converting strangers into paying clients. There's no way you can't, because I teach you all my things in there. But I can't make you show up. So stop taking the easy action. What real actions can I take today? So on that list I told you where you're putting your 3 things every day or every week that have the highest cost factor, put one real action next to each of those 3 things that you have to take. It could be per day or per week. It just depends on the thing. And then you've got to take it. And if you don't take it, you've got to own up to it that you didn't take it. But then you've got to take that action. Don't put 3 actions. That's a setup for failure. And that's another form of subconscious self-sabotage, right? Over-promising, under-delivering. Then you end up in the shame cycle again. You know how great it feels to under-promise and over-deliver yourself? I'm picking my 3 things for the week and taking one real action on each time. And then week over week, you achieve those. You're freaking winning. Versus setting yourself up to lose. And when you're losing, you go into shame and then you attract more shame and you're back in the cycle again. So I'm really curious what you thought about this episode. If you are going to try this and you're really going to go for it, I'm curious what it is that you're going to do to set up accountability. Are you joining the posse? What's happening? Are you hiring an employee? Are you applying for my private coaching? What are you doing? Share this episode if you really liked this take and my process that I've put in place and the formula I have in place, the PSA formula for beating procrastination for highly stuck and stubborn people. So just take a screenshot, share it, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany. If you really want to make my heart smile, leave me a 5-star written iTunes review. This is what helps the show grow. And put your name and or Instagram handle inside the review and DM me. And I would love to treat you to your favorite luxury morning drink for a virtual cheers for being such a great listener and showing your appreciation for the show. Wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.